I learned from the president that why focus on the negative? Here's President Biden about what's going on in Columbia University yesterday.
And the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses.
I condemn the anti-Semitic protests. That's why I've set up a program to deal with that. I also condemn those who don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians and how they're being.
Should the Columbia University president resign?
Right this way. I didn't know that.
Now wait a minute. Hang on. I think what I heard here was, there's fine people on both sides.
Very fine.
Yeah,
I would call them very fine.
Very fine people on both sides. It's almost like what happened with Donald Trump, except when Donald Trump said that, he was a Nazi. He was a Nazi sympathizer. He was reaching out to the Nazis. Mm-hmm. Nowhere do I read that how he's a Nazi, how Biden is a Nazi for saying the same thing about the same kind of people that were calling for the death of Jews.
It really is fascinating. You pointed this out just before we came on the air, and I can't believe the parallels. It's exactly the same thing.
It is.
It's just a left-wing version. And I listened to tons of coverage on this and watched and read a bunch of coverage on this over the past 24 hours. Mm-hmm. And now that I think of it, the entire tone of the coverage was they're very fine people on both sides. It was like, oh, yes, yes, some of these Jewish students have been walking down the street and being attacked. And one woman said that she was trying to go to class and someone came up to her with a sign that said, we hope Hamas comes here next.
Oh.
And then they went to a protester on the Palestinian side who said, look, we know there's been some bad incidents, but we're just here peacefully protesting.
Amen, brother.
There's no question as to whether that was appropriate to do,
right,
to cover, because I don't remember on, let's say, during Charlottesville when they found people in the crowd who were like, I don't know what these nut jobs with the tiki torches are. I'm just here for the statue thing.
There's another case like that comes to mind now. It wasn't just Charlottesville. It was, what was
thinking,
that?
Thinking, calculating.
January 6th.
Oh, yeah.
I never heard anybody say, but there were some grandmothers in there and some nice people there, and that's not what they were doing. There were some really bad people there. We should condemn them, but not the others. I don't remember that.
No, I don't remember that either. There's, 100,000 people at the speech, and all of them seem to be painted with the very broad stroke.
Broad stroke.
That they're
weird.
Awful.
Yeah. You know who does that? You know who used to do that? Who used to love to do that?
Yeah.
Hitler.
Oh.
Yeah, he used to do that all the time.
Right to Hitler.
We went right to Hitler.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because seemingly his ideals are living on today. And seemingly in all these protests.
I'm not going to tolerate anymore is people saying, you're bringing up Hitler. Of course, you're going right to Hitler. Yeah. Because you're saying exactly the same things that Hitler said.
You are basically quoting Mein Kampf at every one of these protests, so it's not that crazy.
Absolutely.
That's a
by the way, I hope Hamas comes here. What do you mean by that? You want the rape? You want the killing, the slaughtering, the burning of children, the chopping off of heads?
Well, we heard
is that what you're looking for?
Just yesterday of long live October 7th. Maybe they just had something else going on that day on October 7th. We don't know.
You know what?
It could be anything.
I think the press should find out because I think they could find somebody that said, no, we were just talking about that wonderful, wonderful concert that was happening.
There you go. It could have been the music.
Because there was good things that day.
Right.
And some bad things.
And a couple bad things.
Right.
Yeah, a couple thousand bad things. Yeah.
You know what this looks like at Columbia University? First of all, can I just play this guy was locked out of Columbia. He's an associate professor, and he was locked out from the campus because they were afraid, it would get out of hand. So he was just standing on the street in front of Columbia, and he was speaking. And I just want you to hear what he had to say because it's very radical.
Okay.
Very radical.
I know you're afraid, and I know you're afraid because I'm afraid. Bravery is not being afraid. Bravery is showing up when you're afraid. That's what courage is about. Showing up, and you all showed up, and you will keep showing up. And next time you show up, bring 2 friends, bring 5 friends, bring 10 friends. Jewish and non-Jewish friends. We need to make the world understand that being Jewish in public is a safe thing, and it shouldn't be something that's contested. We are not fighting just for the Jews. We are fighting for everyone. We are fighting for the rights of African Americans. We are fighting for the rights of Hispanics. We are fighting for the rights of women and LGBTQ and the trans community. We are fighting for everyone because it always starts with the Jews and it never ends with the Jews. So I am here for all of you.
Well, you can see why Columbia University locked him out of they deactivated his key card so he couldn't get back into the university because he's an extremist, clearly.
The hatred.
But don't just take that as the entire movement, because there's some very fine people on the other side as well. Let me take you way back into the time machine of 1933, New York City. In 1933, Hitler is come to power. The Nazis began taking Jewish students and expelling them, dismissing the Jewish professors from their universities. You're not German enough. And the campuses across Germany, Nazis and their sympathizers, they start burning the books, written by Jews and perceived enemies, including, it was weird, on that list of books to burn was a book by a Columbia professor, an anthropologist named Frank Boas, but he was Jewish. So they had on their list to make sure they burn his books in the universities in Berlin. Now, just months after the first book burnings, Columbia had a president, Nicholas Murray Butler. He welcomed Hans Luther in. He was the German ambassador to the United States, and he said, "You got to come to Morning Heights. I mean, you guys, you crazy cats over there, you're being misunderstood. You got to come over here." And then he told all of the students at Columbia, "You respect him. He deserves the greatest courtesy and respect." And so now, at the same time Columbia was doing this, Cambridge, the dean of the Harvard Law School, he accepted an honorary degree from the University of Berlin. He was there over in 1934, and he returns from a trip, and he got that special honor from Berlin, and he came back to assure people there is no persecution of Jewish scholars or of Jews happening in Germany. For those Jews who have lived in Germany for any length of time. That's an odd thing to say. Butler, back at Columbia, responded because there was some criticism on campus. The Spectator and other student groups he had to respond to. He emphasized that Columbia's relationships with the German universities, strictly academic, no political implications at all. And he then mocked the protests that were standing up against the university, saying, "Hey, there's bad things happening with Jews." And he's like, "This is just academic. This is we have nothing to do with any of the spooky stuff from the Nazis." And then he said, quote, "May we next expect to be told that we should not read Goethe's Faust or listen to Wagner's Ring Cycle? Or study the picture galleries at Dresden because we so heartily disapprove of the present form of government in Germany?" Now, by the way, he was a longtime admirer of Benito Mussolini as well. And in 1934, he fired Jerome Klein. That's a weird name, isn't it? Klein. You know what I'm saying, right? So we know why he was fired. He was a young member of the fine arts faculty, and he signed an appeal against the Luther invitation, and he was fired. Also, Robert Burke, a Columbia College student, he was expelled because he was participating in a 1936 mock book burning and anti-Nazi picket on campus. So you couldn't picket the Nazis, but you could go to the big rally at Madison Square Garden. held by the Nazis. They loved that. That was great. So what I think I'm trying to say is, why are we surprised? Why are we surprised? Harvard was disturbing as well. There was a warm welcome extended to Ernst Hoffenschlegel. Ernst Hoffenschlegel here, yeah. He came to the commencement in 1934. He was a Nazi leader, good close personal friend of Hitler. And Harvard, well, a lot of people were like, hey, Mr. Hoffenschlegel maybe shouldn't be here, yeah? Harvard, they loved it. The students loved it. The faculty, they were delighted. In fact, the president of Harvard wrote, it's truly shameful. It's truly shameful that the most prestigious, prominent university is coming under attack, for this. Now, they're just trying to influence young minds. And, we're not for the Germans, but we're not for the Germans either. Right? Isn't that right, Mr. Hofstadel? Here's the problem. I can't believe in 2008, I said several times, the hatreds of the past that we saw in the 1930s are going to come back with a vengeance. We are going to see the same things that happened in Europe in the 1930s happening on our streets. And if we don't stand up and stop it, if we don't choose to never forget, never again is the promise we made to each other, we're going to make the Nazis, with our technology, we will make the Nazis look like rookies. It's up to America now to decide. I personally think, I haven't spoken to Mr. Hoffenschlegel, but I personally think Jesus is coming. Kind of soon, probably.
Glenn, there are very fine Hoffenschlegels on both sides.
On both sides?
Yes,
really?
on both sides.
So there were the kill the Jews Hoffenschlegels, and then the Hoffenschlegels.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
You got it.
All right, good.
Well, you're a historian. You do.
Yeah, okay.